One of MRP's most important activities is to transform independent demand into dependent demand. Independent demand is done at a master scheduling level, while dependent demand is calculated. Let's take a look at an example. Let's take, for example, item A. This item, A, is an independent demand item. This is what the customer orders. In other words, it is the end item. But to make item A, we need 2 of item B and 2 of item C. You can also see that item B is made with 2 of item D and 4 of item E. In addition to this, C is made with 2 of item F and 4 of item G. These components are dependent demand that is used to make item A. You may be wondering, how do I know how many of each component I need? This is calculated by MRP using the bill of materials. As you can see, item A is an independent demand item and is built with dependent demand items. When MRP calculates the amount of dependent demand items needed to build the independent demand, it uses the bill of materials and the number of end items ordered to calculate what is needed. We'll look into this with more detail in upcoming modules, as well as the details of independent and dependent demand. We'll see you soon. One of the core purposes of any inventory management strategy is to ensure that inventory levels are balanced in such a way that they can support demand. Inventory is categorized by demand patterns, which create the need for inventory and drive that need through an organization. There are 2 types of demand: independent demand and dependent demand. Let's look a little closer at these 2 forms of inventory demand. Independent demand is an item that generates demand all by itself. In other words, it is not dependent or related to any other form of demand or item. Some examples of independent demand might be finished goods, replacement parts, parts used for testing, service or repair parts, and end items. Let's look a little deeper. Here is an example that will be easy for you to understand. Let's say you call your favorite pizza shop and order your favorite pizza. When you get your pizza, you see your favorite toppings, cheese, sauce, and the pizza pie crust. The independent demand is the end item pizza that you love so much. The entire pizza is what you ordered, so its demand is unrelated to anything else. However, when we dig into our pizza, we learn that many of the toppings, sauces, and cheese are used on other pizzas as well. These items are known as dependent items because they have other dependencies or other related demands. Let's look a little deeper at dependent demand. Dependent demand is the demand for components, raw materials, or other sub-assemblies that are either related to or come from a bill of materials structure. To put it simply, dependent demand is related to other items and is typically generated from end items. This demand does not occur on its own. It occurs when there is demand for a parent item. Another thing to note about dependent demand is that it should not be forecasted. It is generally calculated using a material requirements planning system. In other words, it is calculated. Let's look at our pizza again as an example. Every pizza requires 1 pizza pie crust, 16 ounces of cheese, and 10 fluid ounces of sauce. In addition, when a customer orders a pizza, they get 10 pieces of each topping. So let's say a customer orders 2 pepperoni pizzas. These are the independent demand. Our system would automatically calculate that we need 2 pizza pie crusts, 32 ounces of cheese, and 20 fluid ounces of sauce. We would also need 20 pieces of pepperoni. As you can see, the dependent demand is directly linked to the bill of materials for the end item and therefore can be calculated. Keep in mind that many companies will have parts that are both dependent and independent demand. For example, let's say we work at a car factory. Our car factory puts tires on cars to complete the car. In this case, the tire is a dependent demand and the complete car is independent demand. Now let's say that we also sell tires directly to customers. In this case, the tire is an example of independent demand. This makes it very important for you to understand and be able to identify or find where the demand is being driven from. We will talk more about this in later videos. You now know what dependent and independent demand is. Now, before we go, we would like to invite you to answer a question. What examples of independent and dependent demand can you think of? Share your thoughts in the community, comments, or upcoming assignments, and we'll see you in the next lecture.